Welcome back to A Lifetime of Mafia Tales. Today Sal shares a heist story that he was involved with, as well as high-level Colombo mobsters Donnie and Dominick Cataldo. They helped him get the job done. Sal owned a couple of jewelry shops back in his mob days, and he would rob his own shops. He made a ridiculous amount of money doing it too. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel for more videos like this. Also, please be sure to subscribe to our Patreon channel for an exclusive story that we're not going to talk about on here. So please sit back and enjoy episode 34 of A Lifetime of Mafia Tales. We're back for another episode of A Lifetime of Mafia Tales. Today, Sal, you're going to lead the whole episodes because you got this untold story that no one's ever heard before with Donnie and Dominick Cataldo. This is basically another heist story. So let's hear it, Sal. Let's hear what you got, man.
Right. Cataldo was familiar with my jewelry store. I had been in operation a couple of years when he mentioned to me that him and Donnie Shocks will loan sharking money to a couple of Jewish guys that had a diamond investment company. So in the 70s, diamond investment companies were starting to crop up, and people would send money in every month thinking that they were investing in diamonds when in fact, they were just sending the money to this company, and the company would tell them that their diamonds were in a safe deposit box, and they were being protected. They were going to guarantee them 10 or 15% profit each year on their investments. And the diamonds weren't large diamonds, or they weren't graded by the service, what they call GIA, Gem Institute of America, would grade coins. But people, had got recommended by other people in the jewelry business to send money to this company, and they would give them a certificate, and they might buy $5,000 or $10,000 worth of diamond parcels, and they'd send them a certificate, and they would be figuring that, in the next 5 or 10 years, they would double their money. So Cataldo came up and said to me, look, we have the two owners. We got them by the balls, and if we tell them to send out a diamond merchant to your store, we'll set up a robbery for you. When the guy comes out, you'll have, take him back in the office, and he'll get robbed there. You have to put up $25,000 in an envelope, and the guy will come in there with like $1 million worth of diamonds. Cataldo said, I'll send 2 heist guys. He'll stick up you and the diamond merchant and put you down in the basement, and then they'll take their $25,000 and they'll leave the store. But they'll also leave, parcels of diamonds. So we decided that the 2 thieves would, open up the safe. The safe was open in my store, and they'd throw everything on the floor. They'd take the envelope full of money. And once they got all the diamonds off this diamond dealer, which he had like a diamond vest around his waist, they would put, the 2 thieves would put all the diamonds up in the ceiling in my bathroom. I had a remodeled bathroom with a suspended ceiling, and they would put these diamonds up there, and then they would just leave. And then when the diamond dealer and myself would get out of the basement, I'd call the police department. They'd come and would make a report about being robbed. So Cataldo said, look, you get to keep the diamonds. We're going to take a position with the owners of the company, because they were going to claim like a $2 million robbery, when in fact there probably wasn't $200,000 worth of diamonds being robbed.
Wow. So
that's the way Cataldo and Donnie Shocks worked back in those days.
Well, so they were able to, with the inventory that the jewelers had in their stock and stuff, weren't they supposed to keep records of how much was in there and diamonds and everything?
Oh yeah. So they had a complete report of the salesman, the merchant, how many diamonds and what type of diamonds he was taking out to bring to jewelry stores for sales, wholesale, sales. And all I had to do is sit down with the guy in the back of my office, and then these 2 thugs would come in, stick us up, hit us over the head with a gun, and put us down in the basement, because I had a basement in the store. And then they would take the diamonds off this diamond dealer and put them up on the ceiling. and I'd have to wait 10 or 15 minutes and make believe I was hurt, and then call the NYPD to make the report. So Cataldo was fine with me getting the diamonds, him getting a piece of the insurance claim, and that's how they set that up. So it was a cold winter day, and I could see I had a video camera set up, closed the surveillance on the jewelry store. I could see two guys standing in the doorway, and I had to buzz them in. Of course, I was already in the back, sitting at the desk with the diamond dealer, and he had laid out some diamonds on the desk, and I was looking at, which ones I was going to purchase. And in came these two thugs, dressed in dark clothes, and they put guns to our heads, took us down the basement, laid us on the floor, and they stripped that guy of whatever he had inside his jacket, and they took all these pouches of diamonds off him and threatened us down there to leave us there, and that we couldn't do anything for like 20 minutes. So then they went up, got into the safe. I left an envelope there with $25,000 for them, and before you knew it, they were gone. So I waited a few more minutes. The guy was really petrified. I don't believe he was part of the scam. I don't think he knew he was going to be robbed, and he was really nervous. And we went up to my office. We called the police. By that time, my manager had told him to leave for an hour or two, had come back in, and he saw everything was upside down. All the stuff out of the safe was thrown across the floor. And a few minutes after we called, maybe 15 minutes, Queens robbery squad showed up, and right away they came in with a group of guys doing fingerprints. They were dusting for fingerprints on the safe and all this other stuff.
They find any?
What's that?
They find any fingerprints?
Oh yeah, yeah. But I mean, those guys weren't stupid. They had gloves on, so there was fingerprints of all the employees, my manager, myself, my wife.
What did the thugs look like?
They were in their 20s, maybe near 30 years old. One guy had a little bit of a mustache. The other guy had long hair. Back in the early 80s, guys were wearing longer hair. So, and then we just gave the report, and I had a card from the company. I had said I had met them maybe a few weeks earlier in Manhattan at the Diamond Exchange. So everything went cool according to our plan. And at the end of the day, after the police left and everything, I went up into the bathroom and saw all the packages of diamonds there, and I just left them there for like one day, trying to figure out how I was going to get them out. What am I going to do with all these diamonds now? They were loose diamonds, like 25 points, 50 points, 3/4 of a carat, all kinds of fancy shapes. And I had no idea how many carats I had or what the value was. Of course, within the day or so, there was a newspaper story about an investment firm being robbed of $2 or $3 million worth of diamonds, when in fact it was probably $250,000 or $500,000, something like that. But I got to keep all the diamonds, and those guys who came in, the two heist guys, they got $25,000, and I had to give them some more money down the road after everything cooled off. Cataldo was happy about the situation, because I think what happened was the diamond investment firm had been frauding people, and they needed a robbery to cover up the fraud.
So, really? So they were already scamming people. Like, what did any indication on how they were robbing people? Just upping the price?
They were taking money off them and telling them that they had their diamonds deposited in a vault in a particular location. But then they said that vault was robbed also. So by the time they reported the robbery, which really wasn't a real robbery, they covered up their frauds, that they had been frauding people for like a year or two.
And did people have to pay it back themselves, or did they have another insurance company recovering?
I don't know exactly what happened on the other end. I do know that an insurance company came to my store and asked a lot of questions, and it was like a reputable insurance company. I think the name of the company was the Lloyd's of London. It's a huge international insurance firm. But nothing ever came out of it. I mean, there was a couple of more visits from, like the NYPD major squad. But I mean, by that time, they probably looked at my record and figured I was involved. And
Well, when they seen that you, well, I suppose when the company was coming in, what was it? The investigation people, the London one. What were their questions that they were asking you, and
well,
how
they
were
just
you
they
avoiding them?
just asked how many times I did business with the company. I said I had met them in Manhattan, and they came out to Queens. It was the first time I was going to purchase large parcels of diamonds from that company, and I hadn't bought anything yet. I was about to. So
Damn.
yeah.
Well, what what did you ended up doing with the diamonds and stuff then?
Well, that was interesting because I was careful about selling them right back on in Manhattan at the jewelry exchange. I mean, I knew a lot of people, so I didn't sell a complete parcel. Some of those parcels were in little packages, 10 carats, 20 carats, 30 carats. So I'd split them up and reweigh them up, and I sold them discount though. I mean, if I was getting $400 or $500 a carat for loose diamonds, I was probably giving it up on a wholesale price. And I mean, I had already had a lot of diamonds, in the business. Most of the stuff was all stolen that I had in the store. And I remember the major crime, um, like NYPD major crime force. They came and they had information, but of course they couldn't do anything. They knew, and I said, well, my store was robbed. He goes, yeah, well, everything in the store has been robbed twice. I mean,
That's what they
that's
were saying.
yeah. Then I had my attorney come over, Mike Corio, and he spoke to NYPD. They had no evidence. There was no proof, no nothing. It happened so quick. I mean, they showed up. The diamond dealer showed up in the morning. By the afternoon, he was robbed, and that was it. So, I
Well,
did give Cataldo and Donnie Shocks, half a dozen diamonds. They were happy about that. But I think they got money off the owners of the company because they were covering up their fraud. That was a bigger part of the heist.
that's true because that's what they really wanted to do was cover it up so they wouldn't get in trouble themselves.
Right, exactly.
So
Yeah.
with them, these were two Colombo guys, and I suppose this was like a little family heist that they wanted you to do to help further the family's
Right.
operations.
Oh
Um,
yeah. I mean, those days, the Cataldo and Donnie Shocks guys, they would extort people. They could easily extort people because the mob had such influence. And the whole thing went away smooth. I mean, my wife shook her head like she knew something wasn't right. That there was nobody in the store but me. My manager had gone to lunch, and there was always 3 or 4 employees there. So, I had to explain that. And I had sent my sister in law home for the day, saying she wasn't, she was sick. I mean, we pulled it off. And, the major robbery squad came back 3 or 4 or 5 times. But in those days, there wasn't a lot of press about that type of stuff. Diamond dealers didn't want to be known of being heisted because then they would be repeatedly robbed. And I didn't really even know the name of the company. I mean, I think they had 2 different names because it was like an international investment company. And in those days, there was little or no regulatory compliance with investment firms of diamonds. I mean, it wasn't like an SEC or something like that. So they didn't have to give a lot of information about their company.
what did Cataldo say to you when it was all said and done? I guess when you gave him them diamonds.
Oh, I gave him some diamonds, and he had a girlfriend, and he wanted to make her, a piece of jewelry. And Cataldo was well versed in jewelry in New York City because he was the guy that took me in, introduced me to the jewelry exchange in Manhattan. That's the most prestigious street. Is 47th Street, and everybody, usually back then there was mostly Jewish people that ran the jewelry business. Eventually, they had Russians come in and all kinds of other people got involved. But there was a few Italian guys that were also in the jewelry business. And you got to remember, in those days, the price of gold was, oh man, it was like $100 and some dollars an ounce. It was inexpensive. So gold and diamonds were, not high priced in the early 1980s.
Yeah, that definitely changed for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Nowadays.
yeah.
What about Donnie Shacks? What was his thoughts when you gave him, or did he give you like congratulations or
Oh
anything?
yeah, yeah. I met them for a drink or dinner or whatever, and they were happy that we pulled off the scam. And I didn't know the other characters that were involved in the company itself. Somehow, Shocks and Dominick, they had made a contact. I think they were loaning money to the guys that had that diamond investment firm. So I mean, they basically started with nothing, and they were just collecting money off people that were investing in diamonds. And it was a popular time in the early 1980s.
Well, long term, did they end up doing more business with these companies like the jewelry stores, or did they keep you in the loop with that?
I didn't even pay attention. I mean, it was like the following year or a year and a half later, I had closed down that jewelry store and moved upstate New York. So, it was like in and out.
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
that was
you
it.
had how long did you have the jewelry store? Or you had
About
a couple of them?
about 3 years. That one, yeah, that was the large jewelry store. I had it about 3.5 years, and just so much went on at that time. And it was the time when gold had skyrocketed from like $200 an ounce to $800 an ounce. So everybody was trading gold, everybody was buying, selling. There was so much stolen merchandise that was being traded on a regular basis. You could read about it in the paper every day. And the city of New York was trying to license everybody. I never even got licensed in that jewelry store. It was just in and out. Just it looked good. It was smoke and mirrors.
Was it a pretty fancy establishment
Oh
then, the one
yeah,
that you
we
had?
spent. I spent a lot of money putting fancy, uh, fancy showcases up. Real nice custom carpet, mirrors. Yeah, I mean it was a nice place. I had a security system. I had spent 20 or 25,000 on a special safe that came from London. A couple of thieves had come in. They looked at my safe and they go, "Oh, you got the good one. Hard to break into that one." So yeah,
They approved it.
yeah, yeah.
How much you think you put into them jewelry stores?
Oh, a lot of money, maybe a couple of $100,000.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was back in the 80s too.
Yeah. 1979, 80, 81, like that. Yeah.
Wow, man. Well,
Yeah.
what even wanted you to ever get into the jewelry business anyhow?
Well, it was really by accident because, in the 70s when Foxy and I did so many jewelry robberies and heists and all, you had to learn about the value of that stuff, you know. So Cataldo had real qualified people in the jewelry district in Manhattan. There's two districts. One is in Midtown, 47, 48th Street, and the other one's down in Lower Manhattan, like Canal Street area. So if you had the contacts in that business, you could do anything. I mean, you could go in the morning and you could design a ring and have it made. In the afternoon, you'd pick it up, take it back, and put it in the store. And I used to buy a lot of stolen merchandise from drug addicts, and then would refashion the jewelry, cut it
You,
down, change the size, change the diamonds. I mean, yeah, a lot of tricks. You had to know the tricks of the trade.
yeah, I mean, with them, so I mean, it all kind of came into the pieces of the puzzle all connected because
Yeah.
you were having junkies and stuff give you jewelry, and then
Oh
you
yeah.
you
Yeah.
and Foxy were doing robberies, and then you
Oh
had the
yeah. Yeah.
connections to do that, and then you had the money, of course, to start a jewelry store, a couple of them, and they
Yeah.
went. But you, like you said, you were in and out with it. But I mean, overall, were there a lot of like these kind of robberies that you did or pulled off, or just a couple during like this whole
Well, there was
jewelry
scams. We had people
scams?
like say we knew women that had a 4 or 5 carat diamond, and we'd tell them like if you want to report a burglary in your house, you can make $10,000 or $15,000. So we'd set up a burglary, make it look like someone broke in, and then they would say their jewelry was stolen. Maybe a month or two would go by, an insurance company would give them a check, and we'd get a piece of the settlement.
Really?
Oh yeah, there was always some kind of scam that came up like that, really.
Jeez.
But that
Well,
was a vicious business. I mean, you have to understand, it's like one major street in Manhattan, and 10, 15, 20 floors high, there would be jewelry companies. And there was many a times where Jewish diamond dealers were killed and left in these offices
why do you think they were being killed?
because they were being robbed. Yeah, there was like a huge demand for the jewelry. So most of it was insured. And so the insurance companies were the ones who was taking the losses.
So you think a lot of these jewelry stores back in that area and that time were being forced to kind of be corrupt as well
Absolutely.
with the mob guys and
Yeah. Yeah.
because they were
The mob always had their hands in the jewelry business. It's very lucrative. I mean, you could have in your pocket, you could have $250,000, $500,000 worth of diamonds and be walking around. No one would even know that you had that in your pocket.
you wouldn't want no one to know, man.
Yeah.
Someone come up and beat you up and take it.
Yeah.
Or worse, you know. Oh man, yeah. Well, that is quite the heist story. I mean, I've never heard that one with them
Yeah.
two guys.
That was a very quiet heist. My wife, I would never admit anything to her, but she knew something wasn't right because her sister was told to go have a long lunch.
A long
And
lunch.
a long lunch, yeah. So I mean, it was in the papers like a day or 2 days later, you know. But
What did the article say? Do you remember?
oh, it just said Queens jewelry store robbed of a diamond robbery. You know, we wouldn't make a big deal out of it, really. And it was just like on to business the next day. And all my employees, because I had 6 or 8 employees, they knew something was up. I mean, they knew that I pulled off something, you know. And then Cataldo didn't come around for a couple of weeks or a month, so I don't know how much they got out of the company, but I think they helped them settle their fraud because they had insurance on that side. They had insurance on that side of their business, where the investment company was insured for like robbery.
Yeah, so they were just insurance scams all around, really.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, with Cataldo, you said you didn't come around for a month or so, like around the store or just around you?
Yeah, around the store. No, because my store was like maybe 10, 15 minutes from where I lived. We would always catch up in the neighborhood, because the neighborhood was so tight. Cataldo's restaurant was only 2 blocks from my house. The Bergen Hunt and Fish Club was at 10, 12 blocks away. I mean, everybody was close inside Ozone Park. This particular area where I had the jewelry store was considered Sunnyside, Queens, kind of a nice area.
I never asked you, but what was Cataldo's restaurant?
It was just a little place called what was it? It was like just a small restaurant. It was Italian food, and it could only seat maybe 8 or 10 people. It was really a hangout. I don't know if he was killing people in the back by the kitchen. I don't know, but there was reports that a lot of stuff had taken part there with mob sit downs, and I do remember seeing Michael Franzese show up one day at that Italian restaurant.
That was after you got made, right?
Yeah,
Became
like the summer of '78 or something like that.
So yeah, it was probably just a hangout. I suppose maybe they would serve a couple people or whatever, but
yeah,
mainly like a hangout for them and just a front
right.
storefront. Like,
well, he did have a good cook. The guy was a good cook, though.
Who was or not? Who was it? But I mean, like,
I don't remember his name, but he was a good cook.
Yeah,
and he would only be open up like say 3 or 4 nights a week.
Yeah, the rest was mob operations.
Oh yeah, gambling stop and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
a lot of sit downs in and out of there. Angelo would be there all the time. Not so much Gotti, but Angelo would hang out with Dominick.
Really? What kind of encounters do they have? Do you remember?
Oh, I don't know. They was always scheming on something,
Yeah, just figuring out what they could do.
Yeah.
I mean, did Dominick really put you on to the restaurant business at all? Because you
No, I wasn't interested. Actually, the neighbor was. Pizza. The name of the restaurant was Villaggio Italia. That was the name of his restaurant. But it
Oh,
was really small.
yeah.
Maybe 6 or 8 tables.
What about your pizza shop that you had? I mean, was it a small little thing too?
Yeah, that was years earlier. My God, that was in the late 60s.
Oh, so
Yeah.
before he even ever had a restaurant?
No, he didn't have a restaurant then.
No. Then, well, I mean, the restaurant, I suppose you have to have some kind of income for shit you doing all your crimes, have some kind of source,
Yeah.
to prove or launder
Yeah.
money or whatever the hell you may do.
Well, we were always dealing drugs, so we made money. So he could afford to have the restaurant.
Yeah, just to have it up for fun, just to have
Yeah,
it as a hangout spot.
exactly. He had the restaurant, and 3 or 4 blocks from his restaurant was my deli.
Oh, what was your deli?
It was an Italian deli,
How many restaurants did you have?
Well, just the pizza joint in the late 60s, but the deli came in the 70s.
So you had that too?
Yeah.
The deli, what would you call that one?
Parkside Deli.
Parkside Deli.
Yeah, it was right by the park, and both my kids grew up, they were like little toddlers when we started the deli. But we had all good Italian food there, and the whole neighborhood would come there. The whole Gotti crew would come there for sandwiches, And when they did the Lufthansa heist, guys were always coming there for sandwiches.
Did they say, or how many people did you have working for you there? Just a couple, or
Maybe 6 or 7, 2 or 3 guys, young guys, and a couple of my friends. Funzie's daughter worked there for us. Most of your friends you put there to kill kids to work.
oh yeah, so you gave them some jobs and then
Right.
just keep it all close. Was it all in the same area?
And we always had stolen merchandise in and out of that deli, though. I'm telling you.
You after a heist?
No, not that. Guys were wheeling and dealing. So you had burglars, you had robbers. I mean, they would come there and sell their stuff.
They
I always had a pocket full of money, so I would be buying whatever they stole.
Was Donnie Shacks in the area at all that you guys were
No,
in?
he was from down in Brooklyn. He was quite a ways away.
Oh, so I guess you wouldn't have seen if he had new restaurants or anything like that?
No, I didn't pay a lot of attention to him. Cataldo kept me away from him. He didn't want Shocks to know that we were dealing drugs. And I don't know if he dealt drugs with Shocks. I have no idea. Cataldo was very secretive about all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, at the time, these guys were like how much older than you?
10 years.
Just not a whole lot then.
Right. About 10 years.
But they were your mentors, and of course Cataldo was. But I mean, Shocks, he wasn't really around him too much at all. You did the other heist with him that we talked about before, like for him. I don't know if he was in it.
Oh yeah,
Andrew Curl and Peter Sicaro.
Yeah, that was a few years earlier. We did that. That was the silver heist, like coin heist that Cataldo put us on with Peter Sicaro, and that's how Peter Sicaro got to know Angelo and the whole Gotti crew. I think after that heist.
Yeah. Well, any other side stories or anything that you got that we could throw in here?
No, not really. I mean, I think about it. It was just another day in the life. People just don't get how quick, crime would take place, and you'd be in and out and over, and you'd be down the road looking to the next score.
Just always constantly moving and thinking about the next one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anybody, if you want to comment or have any questions that you have for Sal, just feel free to leave them in the comments below.
Okay.
And we'll get to the questions on there. And also, we're going to go over to Patreon now and cover another story to finish this episode up. So if you want to check that out, it's in the video description. And also check out all of our old videos. We got, I suppose, 34 episodes up now for our Lifetime of Mafia Tales podcast. And then we also got about 26 now live shows out there. So, I mean, there's over 50 episodes out there that you can check. All you got to do is click our YouTube channel icon, go to the playlist tab, and you can click A Lifetime of Mafia Tales, or you can click the Sal and Adrian lives, that shows that we do. Also, check out the Invest in Yourself podcast. It's all on there, all kinds of shows. So if you haven't seen them, check them out. They're really good. We got all kinds of stuff. And on that, we're going to head over to Patreon. We hope you enjoyed today's podcast about Sal's heist with Donnie Shax and Dominick Cataldo. Don't get it twisted though, crime doesn't pay. Sal left that criminal life a long time ago. Please share this interview with anyone that you think will enjoy this type of content. Also, please be sure to subscribe to our Patreon channel for an exclusive story that we're going to talk about and finish our episode up on there. If you enjoyed today's video with me and Sal, I know you'll enjoy my other podcast I do called the Invest in Yourself podcast. On that podcast, I interview ex-gangsters, criminals, former drug addicts, former mobsters, all kinds of different people. All you have to do is just click the channel icon, go to the playlist tab, and click the Invest in Yourself podcast. Thank you so much again for watching, and of course, we'll see you on the next one. If you would like to support our podcast, we got a few items that you can purchase. All of these items can be found in the video description below. The first one is Sal's book, The Sinatra Club. You can get this personally autographed by Sal. The next one in our hottest seller is the 1972 Sinatra Club playing cards. Back in Sal's Mafia days, he opened up his own social club named the Sinatra Club. Many mobsters would come to this club, even when there were all-out wars going on between different families. They would come to the Sinatra Club and play cards. Some of the mobsters that played with these cards were John Gotti, Dominick Cataldo, Tommy DeSimone, Foxy, Jimmy Burke, Willie Boy Johnson, Tony Roach, Henry Hill, Joe DeFede, Danny Fatico, Gene Gotti, Peter Gotti, Joey Scopo, and many more. We're selling each one of these cards for $10 a piece. These cards are limited, we only got 1,000 of them. The next item is an autographed picture of Sal from his Mafia days. Another item is the Dinner with the Mobster card. You can get this autographed as well. This was an event that Sal had hosted in the past. We also got the Ubat's production ticket from an event that Sal had hosted. This is also autographed. The last item we got to offer is Sal's book, The Sins of the Father. Again, you can find all these items in the video description below.